a high five on this one.
I'm not giving you a high five. Don't get spoiled.
Okay.
Get off the air, Albanian.
You want to split a BLT
if you
later?
want me off there, hang up on me.
Hang up on us.
Because I've already done said my piece. I mean...
Go eat Spam and play a board game. Shut up. Next.
Go play with a goat, whatever the hell you're doing.
Oh, boy. All right, we need to go to a commercial. Hold on to take us out. We're back.
Right, we're back.
Thanks for some fine F5 music from
Definitely
F5.
F5 always lightens my night.
On the phone right now, we got a treat for everybody.
Who?
We got the franchise Shane Douglas on the phone.
Oh yeah.
Shane, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, man. How's it going?
It's going good.
It's good, man.
Is the weather any better up there in New York than it is down here in old Pittsburgh?
Oh, it's cold and windy and...
Yeah, we're probably getting that same storm that you're getting there right now, actually.
Yeah, it's winter, so we can't complain, can we?
No, we can't.
Nope, we can only shovel and curse at the snow.
It comes with the territory.
Oh, right? Yeah.
So, let everybody know how you got involved with FSW.
Well, a couple years ago, Joel Maximo, one of the guys with FSW, had called me and wanted me to come in for some shows and do a seminar, and I did, and I was really impressed with what I saw as far as the talent that he had there, the commitment of the kids that he had working in his school, training, and trying to, every one of them paid very close attention to what I had to say and what others that had seminars there had to say. It seems to me that these kids have been brought into the business the right way. That, you know, the old, you know, when I came into the business, it was predicated on respect. Respect, that you respect the guys that came before you, that tendered the business before you, that took care of the business before you, and handed it off to you in a good shape. And we realized, all of us in that generation, that we had really big shoes to fill. You know, we had a lot of big legendary names that came in the generation right before ours. Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Harry Funk, Roddy Piper, you know, the list goes on, Jake Roberts, Paul Orndorff. We had very big shoes to fill. And I know the way I was broken into the business, it was to make sure that we didn't goof off. You know, that we took that very seriously and tendered the business the way it was handed to us. And what I saw in Joel's school when I went up there at the FSW was that kind of attitude in the kids, that they were very eager to become professional wrestlers and to tender the business in a serious way that wasn't built around what cartoon character am I going to become or how much money am I going to make. They just wanted to be wrestlers, the same as Troy Martin wanted to do in 1980, 81, and 82 before I started training. This was what they wanted. And so for me, I just see it to me, there's thousands of kids across the country right now that want to be professional wrestlers, the same that Troy Martin did in those years that I talked about. And they have every bit of right as I had to get into a business that was thriving as I had back then. So to me, getting involved with companies like FSW is what I'm all about. You know, at this stage in my career, I could work for the WWE or TNA if I chose to. I tried that route. That route didn't work so well for me because I can't turn a cheek when I know a Samoa Joe or a Bobby Roode, who are studs in my book, are being overlooked for this guy because he kisses somebody's rear end, or that guy because he's related to somebody. To me, it's all about the talent. And if you book the talent that can rise to the top like cream, then you have no problems. You know, when you see a TNA that's a quarter, Panda Energy over a $250 billion with a B dollars involved in TNA, and they're still getting the same paltry rating they've always had. Last year was their worst since Panda's been involved. You know, what else can you really say? I mean, the proof is in the pudding. If you begin to push these kids that should be pushed, that have the right to be pushed, and most importantly, underscore, have the talent to be pushed, the rest will work itself out. And, you know, so with FSW, to answer in a long-winded way your question as to why I got involved with FSW, was, to me, all those things I just spoke about in minutia. You know, I mean, going to a small school, one school in New York, and seeing what the kids had to offer there, it excited me that there are still people out there that want to do it the way that it should be done.
Definitely, man. Wow. I've got a question there for you, Shane. I know it's probably, a weird one, but or maybe you get asked this all the time. You know, what was the wrestler that, caught your eye that got you into the business?
You're a little bit low on me. I can't hear you real well. What was what?
What was the wrestler that caught your eye that got you into the business, that kept you watching wrestling every day?
Well, I mean, for me growing up in Pittsburgh, I started watching Bruno Sammartino when I was 6 years old. So Bruno was obviously a big portion of that. But as I got older and became more serious about possibly getting into the business, Ric Flair was the guy I looked to. I mean, Ric Flair was the performer that I looked at as the quintessential personification of what a professional wrestler should be. And you know, I mean, without getting into all the other jibes about it, you know, the personal side of it, you know, Ric Flair, when I was a young guy coming up, personified what I thought a professional wrestler should look like and act like and perform like.
That's awesome, man. Definitely. I would say my pick would probably be like Bruno and Ric Flair too, in a way, because you know, without them two, you know, that's what wrestling is, especially Bruno.
And very different takes on the business. I mean, you know, Bruno had more of that. You know, I mean, you know, we like to try to, I guess, in 2013, coalesce something down into its basic form and say, okay, Bruno Sammartino was a mat wrestler, or Ric Flair was this or what. But when you put those two together, I think if you could put in a blender Bruno Sammartino and Ric Flair, you'd have the perfect wrestler. In my book, I mean, you'd have, you know, every base covered. I can't think of anything that wouldn't be covered with those two. Bruno Sammartino, you have to understand, to me, understanding that I've been in business for as long as I've been in, Bruno covers the old, you know, when we hear so many people today throw the word around old school, the term old school, old school. Bruno Sammartino truly was old school. I mean, he was in the business in the 1950s and 60s and 70s when it really was old school. And Ric Flair picked up on the tail end of that and took it to another level, much like, you know, we did with DCW and elevating it to a different level. And, you know, each generation has its stamp on the business. And I'm still waiting for this generation. I'm still waiting for the current generation to put their stamp on the business as to what it's going to be. They've not been allowed to so far. But, you know, where I come from, where I sit, when Panda Energy has $250 million invested into a company and have very little to show for it in the ratings game and the money's game, they very scantily draw a live house that's worth bragging about. To me, money talks, you know, and I've got to believe in my heart of hearts that somebody in Panda Energy sooner or later is going to say, we've tried this route long enough, and it ain't working. I mean, you know, when I was going to my NA meetings after my OxyContin fiasco, you know, they used to say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Now apply that definition to TNA. Since I left in 2007, and probably well before, TNA has been doing the same old thing over and over and over and over again.
Yes, it
You know,
has.
expecting a different result. I mean, if I get up and I pick my nose and I urinate in the toilet and I do my deal every morning and I expect that day to be different from every day before it, I'm probably an idiot. And, you know, so when I look at this, I just truly believe that this current generation of kids is going to, out of pragmatism, have their stamp on the business. And when that happens, Troy Martin, the Mark, from New Brighton, Pennsylvania, and I'm the biggest mark in the world from great wrestling, is going to sit back and enjoy what Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, AJ Styles, Austin Aries, and the list goes on and on and on, has to offer. And, you know, that's just my take on it.
Wow, definitely. I just got a in-studio fan question. They wanted to know, what was it like working with Bam Bam Bigelow?
Bam Bam was, you know, a great question. I'm thankful for it because, you know, Bam Bam was, to me, and not to sound corny or anything, Bam Bam was, to me, like my big brother. And the reason I say that was, and I've missed him terribly since his passing, he was the only person, first of all, that called me Troy, my shoot name, other than my mother. My mother and Bam Bam Bigelow were the two people that called me by my birth name. You know, so when I walked into a dressing room and this big hulking guy with a tattooed head would say, "Hey Troy, you know, what's going on?" or "Hey Troy this," or "Hey Troy that," you know, he just seemed like a big brother to me. You know, and you know, he was a guy that had been around the business, that had tremendous success in the business. But you know, I guess I'll go off on a personal tangent for a second. The thing about Scott Bigelow was that